basketball. It is Friday. I'm muted. I'm back now.
We're back.
It's Friday. Bring it in with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. How are you, sir?
I'm living the bachelor life. Just me and my four-legged animal. My wife's living up in Hawaii, but
which Hawaiian island is she on?
Everywhere. She wrote her. My wife is the kind of person who handwrites everything, checklists everywhere. Like I have her entire itinerary. I have not really looked at it because why would I want to look at it? She's all over the place. Yeah, flying for business class there too because of the connections she's got. So
you're saying you wish you were on white sandy beaches and no?
I'm fine. You know what? As I told her, my whole life's a fucking vacation. She's like, you never go on vacation. But I've been to Vegas a million times, with my brother. This is her trip with her sisters. Okay. But I get paid to work with players and analyze the game. And my life's a vacation. What am I complaining about?
I mean, to get paid doing what we do, which is, of course, talk about basketball. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. So we are very fortunate in that regard.
For sure.
Well, Coach, we are a quarter of the way through the NBA season. Every team has played at least 20 games. Most teams now are past that, 23, 24 games. And you wrote your 6 observations from the quarter point of the season. And folks, get ready. I think Coach and I are going to have our first basketball disagreement, which is, oh my God, so sad. So sad. So the disagreement comes from, or I think disagreement is when Coach was writing about the fantastic Phoenix Suns Golden State Warriors game. And there's a line in the piece where he writes, the Athletics' Anthony Slater documented how the Suns did a nice job finding Curry early, staying attached and not fouling. He attempted only 1 free throw. Thanks to defenders like DeAndre Ayton and Mikal Bridges, they're a long team, but so are many NBA defenses. Perhaps the Suns' signature defensive play of the night, Ayton's block of a Curry 3 near the end of the first half, looked to me like a shot Curry ordinarily would have released with more arc. On most nights, Ayton wouldn't have touched it. Every scorer has off nights. And and most of your piece at least of the 6 observations, that one about the Suns was more about the Warriors and their offense and how they're more than just Steph Curry. And I don't disagree with that. But where I found disagreement was I thought the Suns played fantastic defense. And I thought they did find some things they can do going forward long term. Now, there were definitely shots that Curry missed, right? Like a layup at the rim that he just whatever, like shots that hit 3/4 of the way down. Yeah, that happens. But there were other shots where he airballed and missed badly. And I felt like the Suns sped him up a little bit more than he would have liked to have been sped up in most of that instance. And when your rhythm is off as a super scorer, sometimes it's hard to get it back in. Watching the Golden State Warriors as much as I have this season, and I watched their last 6 games on TV and replay, and I saw the game in Brooklyn live. The thing about defending the Warriors is that Cuisinart, the split cuts and all that, teams freak out when Steph Curry does anything. They overreact, they lose their minds, and you know what happens. You send 2 at Curry, well, now we got 4-on-3 or 3-on-2, depending on where you are on the floor, and it's barbecue chicken. They're going to kill you. The Suns didn't do that. Nobody overreacted. Nobody lost their mind. When they decided to switch, it was about how they switched, the angles at which they took the switch. They met the screens up high. It wasn't like, listen, at that Brooklyn game, they were doing the switch and they were like, hey, we're doing this, but it wasn't with the same purpose and intensity as how they did it, right? And staying attached to the screen. All the little tiny things that in a playoff series matter, right? In a regular season, most teams don't do that. That's why the Warriors get out and blitz teams. But they did it. And I thought the Suns were really excellent. And there are some things they can take away, because that's what I was looking for in that game. Can they stay on the floor? Can Ayton stay on the floor? And he can. Now, Curry may go up and have 50 points tonight, but that still doesn't change what I think about how the Suns can guard them going forward.
Okay. Can I talk now?
Mm-hmm.
That was so good. And I don't disagree with a single thing you said. Nothing. Everything you said is right. We are not in disagreement.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You'll understand where I'm coming from when I tell you this. So we're not dealing with a normal human being.
Mm-hmm.
And the point I made to Henry, and I because I was talking to him about this piece, and obviously I wrote a little bit about it. Steph Curry, for me, when I'm watching the game, automatically I'm seeing when I'm watching a game, any game, I think bad shot. And then sometimes the ball goes in, but typically it doesn't. I mean, if a bad shot is going to go in, 3 of 10 times, whereas a better shot might go in 4.2% of 10 shots. That's what a bad shot is. You're making just a less percentage. And I'm right frequently, except for this guy. For 10 years, he just takes the worst shots.
But they go in
more than anyone else. It's crazy. So let's break down what you just said. Yes, the Suns did a lot of things well. And yes, I do think they sped him up a little bit. I think they sped the Warriors up. In fact, I might have even written that. And here's why I think that happened. The Warriors have not played, I wrote this too, they've not played anyone like Phoenix defensively. Okay. And you know me, because we've now done 2 postseasons together. I believe, Jarod, that in the playoffs, who you just played can really help you get ready for game 1 of the next series. And if you just played an amazing team, it might have worn you down, but the intensity of the next opponent won't scare you as much. If you played a really physical team and then you play another very physical team, you're more prepared. I think the Warriors have not faced Bridges and Ayton and the discipline of the Suns defense and the execution of the Suns defense with those lane. There's long guys everywhere, but they're not always disciplined. The Suns are disciplined in the way they're guarding. There's a reason why they've won 17 straight games. Okay. So I do think that they got tagged a little bit. Curry, especially the air ball he shot. Let's be clear. He overshot a above the break 3 by about 2.5 feet. Like, it was a bad air ball. I don't know if it was the pace. He's just made that shot so many other times. But even if you give the Suns credit for that, and even if you give the Suns credit for him missing a point blank layup that was mildly contested, but it certainly should have been made. Yeah. He basically shot a finger roll and left it short.
Yeah, he should have made that one. That should have been made.
So I think the Suns can make things harder on him than most other defenses. Not all defense, but most other defenses. I just don't think it matters. That's why he's Steph Curry. to get to be Durant and LeBron and Curry and this tiny section of the world's greatest scorers and shooters, you just have seen everything and you've beaten it, or you wouldn't be at that position. Like, we could argue Giannis now can say, there, you can throw whatever you want at me. I've now figured out a way to score in the paint no matter what. Yeah. He didn't used to have that. Now he does. Well, Curry has this. So I don't know what's going to happen tonight. And Devin Booker isn't playing. Am I right?
No, he's out for a couple games. So he's out. Okay. Then this is the second out of a back-to-back for Phoenix. So again, they could get beat by 20 points tonight.
Yeah, it doesn't. Listen, I am not telling you that Steph Curry and the Warriors would definitely beat the Suns in a series now or later, nor am I saying that he would average 35 a game against them over a 7-game series. I'm just saying he is at a point in his career now where it really doesn't matter what you do at the highest level. He has the antidote to everything, as do the Warriors. They still have to execute. You still have to make the shot. And that's the point I was making, Jarod, in this piece. On the flip side, everyone just thinks, well, it's because of Steph Curry, the Warriors are always open all the time. Yeah, sometimes. But they still have to make lots of really hard shots.
They do.
And they're doing it.
They do.
Oklahoma City doesn't have anyone like that.
We'll get to them.
They can have some of these guys, by the way, because they're not getting paid very much. These guys, you still have to make the shots. And maybe the Warriors won't. The Suns will make it harder on them than other defenses for sure. But I think if those 2 teams are the final 2 teams, which we don't know what they'll be in the West, we have a long way to go. It'll be a fascinating series because Phoenix won't beat themselves defensively.
Yeah.
They'll guard it well, but Steph Curry is Steph Curry.
That's what I liked. Oh, good. It's okay. So we're not in basketball disagreement. We're still in love. Okay, great.
No, let me be clear. I think your insight's terrific. I think you really nailed it. And but it's just Steph Curry.
It's Steph Curry. So to your point about that, right? Like, I see that, of course, with Durant and all the guys you mentioned, right? Oftentimes when they are missing, I'm like, well, you just missed because you missed. Like, how much of it was the defense? But then I watch, I'm like, okay, they kind of sped you up a little bit here. I'll really slow it down and go, okay, you rushed that because 3 plays ago, they really put you in a spot you didn't want to be in. And now you kind of want to play the get back. So you push it up a little bit. So it's interesting. What I'm interested in watching about the Warriors, coach, is, yes, it's not just Steph Curry. But the dirty secret about the last 2 NBA titles that the Warriors won was that, and a lot of casual fans don't want to hear this, they needed Kevin Durant to win those championships, because you need someone else who can create their own shot. And Otto Porter and Jordan Poole were great through 3 quarters. Didn't see much of them in the 4th. And we haven't seen them do it in a conference semis or a conference finals or an NBA finals. Doesn't mean they can't. We just haven't seen it. And coach, it's different. Now that you played the same team 4 times and they know what you're going to do, you ain't going to be that wide open, Jordan Poole. All right. You're not going to be that wide open, Otto Porter. Can you make the shots then in those moments? Maybe they can, but we have no body of evidence to see it. I know Steph can do it. I know Klay can do it. I know Draymond can do some stuff. We have to see it from the other guys, and perhaps we will.
So let's extrapolate that a little bit. I think you're right. But I would argue that the Draymond Green against the Raptors, when you say get your own shot, well, it's that or have a good enough facilitator in a good enough system to get someone a good shot.
Yes.
Well, Draymond had not had that until the Raptors series, that playoff. He had lost a bunch of weight, if you remember, quickly. Like he really got himself in shape and became a better weapon. And then, and they did, I think they'd have won without Durant. In fact, I think they'd have won relatively in 5 or 6 games against the Raptors without KD. Then they lost Klay. They also lost Cousins. Like they were,
they were injury ravaged.
So I think you're right. And I don't care about 1 4th quarter, but yeah, we do need to watch Jordan Poole in these other games and see. It ain't going to happen just automatically. Like you have to earn confidence in these games. Draymond is at another level as a facilitator. He's really spectacular. Wiggins in that game,
the back was bothering him. You could tell he was stiff and running upright. Yeah.
Did you hear how many games he's missed in his career? By the way,
Wiggins, not many.
Like 13.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Oh, he's an Iron Man.
Yeah, he's really become a very good top 50 2-way player. Who
on that team, especially because he doesn't have to be the offensive hub.
I agreed. It game's easier for him. So I think that those guys are on notice. Hey, Steph's going to do his thing. Teams are going to do what the Suns did. They're going to try to make it hard for Steph to score. To your point about when Durant misses and what happened prior. Yeah, when you allow, this is exactly the point. Curry had a couple of drives to the rim that were contested and he missed because Phoenix played really good defense and made it tough with their length and Ayton's size and ability to move his feet quickly, laterally and diagonally. He can slide really well. He's become a very good drop defender. And so scores like easy buckets. There is something, I know you love music and appreciate it probably better than I do, but I do have an appreciation for it. All kinds of country. I can't do country, but there's certain classical tunes. Like if you play Claire de Lune, like I'm just silent. Yeah. There's a lot of them. There's some operas that I'll hear a couple notes in falsetto and I'm done. It just grabs me.
Yep.
Well, there's basketball aspects to that where scores make a shot and they're like the floodgates are open. Right. And it doesn't make every shot, but they think they probably can. And the best scorers have discipline. This is one of KD's magical talents is everyone says, well, he can shoot every time. Yeah, but he wouldn't be nearly successful. He picks his spots superbly and doesn't take terrible shots. That's the quickest way to get on a cold streak. Take terrible shots, right? Anthony Edwards is learning that. Some of these guys, Jalen Green will learn that. Durant is a scientist. He keeps taking great shots and the floodgates stay open. Well, when you don't let Curry see the ball go in some and get that feeling, that groove, that's part of your job. That's part of the scheme, the strategy of slowing Curry down, and the Suns can do that. And so other guys are going to have to take up that slack because it's going to take a lot of effort from the Suns to orient towards Curry and to make it tougher on him. And now other guys have to make them pay or they'll likely lose those games.
Yeah.
We have to see that. But Green, you're right about Klay. We'll see what happens. But Green's ability to facilitate, I think, gives them a better chance than he did the first 2 years with Durant was there.
It does. So here's the question I have about Draymond. Because again, as you know, in coaching the postseason, the fancy split cuts get taken away. Like you're not running them as easily because the refs are allowing them to grab and hold. So you're not running through cleanly now. And then it's about oftentimes one-on-one creation, right? What are you seeing from Draymond? Because the Suns, I felt like in that game were quite a few times. I remember exactly. Instead of helping off, which a lot of teams just because natural reaction, guys wide open, let me go run to him. They're like, oh, it's Draymond at 3. Nope, we're staying home. You score. They were like, we're not gonna let you facilitate because that's what you want to do. We're gonna make you score instead. how are you seeing Draymond the scorer? Because I think if they're going to win a title, we have a long way to go. He's going to have to score some because teams are going to know, he wants to go facilitate. So we're not doubling. You got to beat us with a three or get to the rim or whatever.
I think it's more of the downhill driving that he's going to do. And it's just hard not to help on a 6'8" guy driving downhill down the middle. And then when you help, he's got the lob that they throw to Gary Payton plays in the dunk spot too.
Mm-hmm.
The little guard, because he can jump so damn high. That's really, I think, where he's become more weaponized effectively is as a driver attacker. I've not looked up the stats yet. I will as we get nearer, the games that matter the most in the postseason. That's where he's going to, he has to make threes. It'd be great. If he can start making threes like he did early on,
then it's trouble.
Yeah, they're the best offense, ever to play. He can't do that. At least he's not doing much of it. He is driving better and finishing it that way. And I think this is where they'll use Weissman best. Is last year they tried to feature him too much.
Mm-hmm.
He just wasn't close to being ready.
Mm-hmm.
Let him play Clint Capella.
Yeah.
So don't be the dunk spot, race and be in the dunk spot. He can catch lobs and dunk with the best of them.
Yeah. And
I think it'll make it much easier for him.
Yeah, I think Wiseman's key. The last thing I'll say about this, coach, is that I thought the Suns. So, I love Charles Barkley. He's one of my favorite people because he's hilarious. And also, as kids don't know, one of the greatest players of all time. Like, check his tape. Like, that dude can play some ball and knows the game. But, he does these silly things and he plays his character and does whatever. And he uses the same lines over and over. You got to go and you got to pound the Warriors inside when they go small. You do, but not in the way Chuck's making it sound like. No, don't throw the ball into Ayton every time because if Draymond knows you're doing that, he'll stop that, right? Yeah. But what they did was continued their ball movement, and it would oftentimes get someone else undesirable on Ayton, and he just punished them every single time.
He was really good.
And I think the Wiseman thing's going to be big for them. Can he be someone who can be on the floor in a series like that where, okay, now Ayton doesn't have a 6'2" guy on him. He's got another 7-footer he's got to deal with.
Yeah, you want to see Weissman be able to get, 7 good minutes every half. He doesn't have to do a lot for them. If he can, even better. Hold his own, not get exposed, not foul a bunch. But just remember, Ayton as a second-year player, I think he was hurt a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, beast. And I love that about him, considering to get his extension. He's going to get paid.
Oh, for sure. Somebody's going to pay him.
Yeah, back the Brinks truck up. He's going to be living in a big mansion soon. If he's not already in one, he's making decent money now. I think Weissman just they need to bring him along slowly. And what I like about it to finish on the Warriors is just how much of a leader Draymond is and a teacher. Like I say this, I may have said this on our show, to be an offensive lineman for the Buccaneers with Tom Brady as a quarterback is the gift that'll give long after he retires, which may not be for 10 years. I realize that. I can only imagine what he's teaching that line. And, what hasn't Tom Brady seen?
Seen everything.
What offense has Draymond Green not seen? So and Curry, the more they teach Weissman, as much as I love Steve Kerr and the staff, and I think that's super important, I don't normally love the idea that veteran players are coaching other guys. I think these guys are, two of the smartest guys ever to play, Draymond specifically. That is a hell of a guy to put with James Weissman. And he's, from what I understand, an unbelievable sponge and always has been. Because I talked to a coach at Memphis in college and just off the charts coachable. Puts too much pressure on himself, maybe in a bad way, but
probably tries to be too perfect.
Yeah. So he'll listen. I think those two teams and Utah hasn't figured it out yet, but they certainly could. And if they do, we have 3 amazing teams and none of them are based in LA.
As badly as Utah's been record-wise, they're still number 2 in adjusted net rating, right? So
they're still waxing teams.
They're still beating up who they're supposed to beat up. Judy, pull up that clip of the NBA's 2 players of the month to start the season, and this is really no surprise to anybody. Kevin Durant and Stephen Curry were named the players of the month for October and November. They're just doing their thing. And I know Coach they could still be teammates. But I think Durant wanted to do a different thing.
But do you think? But Jarod, do you think that if the Warriors get back to the Final Four even, and Brooklyn doesn't win a championship, do you think KD is going to even? I realize I don't care about regret. We all make mistakes.
Right. KD
has an incredible life and just won a gold medal again. Is really a storied player, all-time great. But might someone have been in his crew say, you could have been on the Warriors, buddy? Like
No.
that's a way to trash him a little bit. That's a way to talk shit to him.
I don't think they will say that, Tim, because he knows why he left, right? Like, so I just think that it's funny. Someone asked me the other day before the Knicks game, they were like, when you got to the Warriors and like you really unlocked a certain part of your game, and he like really pushed back on them. He's like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I was who I was before I got
exactly.
there. Like,
so is that? But Jarod, is that what you're saying? Are you saying that for his legacy, he needed to get out of there?
I think in his mind, yeah, because
it's so unfair. What an unfair thing the public has put on him.
It's stupid. For smart people like us, we know there's a reason why he won 2 finals MVPs and did what he did, right? Like, he was incredible, right? Like, but there's the casual fan and the talking head shows is, oh, he rode Steph Curry's coattails to a title, blah, 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 all this stuff. And so, that's a real thing. And that's a perception that's out there. So a large part of it was, all right, yeah, I can't do this because you people aren't going to credit anything I'm doing here, right? So, and again, I go back to that thing that someone Harrison Barnes without a brush, that question that reporter asked, and he's like, "What do you mean? Like I've been Kevin Durant before I got there, like, and it's true. Like, look it up. Like, he was doing all this before."
Tom Brady was. I read an article about him the other day. I sorry to talk so much about football. I don't ever watch.
It's all right.
The article was about something else, but it mentioned that Brady went to Tampa because he didn't want to do everything by himself anymore. He was upset, I guess, with, I don't know anything about the Patriots. I couldn't name 3 players in the Patriots all the time he was there.
Him and Belichick, not great.
But apparently the Buccaneers had a really good defense and good receivers, and they got Gronkowski to come. But no one's pillaring him,
right? And
saying you hand chose a team. All they needed was a quarterback to win,
right?
And then they won,
right?
Like, why are we doing this to KD? It's just too bad, because I think had he stayed in Golden State, remember, to your point about needing Durant or the Warriors don't win, it's because Houston was fucking amazing.
Yeah, really good.
That Houston team, if it was intact, would be the best team in the league right now.
I mean, Coach, do you think? I mean, Houston probably should have won that series.
Yeah, Chris Paul hurts his hammy, and that's it. They were. I think they were going to win the series. I agree.
They should have won that series.
So to me, it elevates even more when you've got a super team. You get a second super team. The Heat made the Spurs.
Yeah.
Who lost in Game 7 and won. Like, that elevated Kawhi and Duncan and Ginobili and all that. So I would have. It's unfair. It's stupid, because KD and the Warriors and the thing is, and this is the most important thing to me, is KD and Curry are cut from the same cloth on the court.
Yeah,
they play with joy and just want to win. And these guys could score 50 a night and don't want to. They know it's not the best thing for their team long term, or even mostly short term. It's beautiful and not seen often. LeBron too. LeBron could average 50 in his sleep.
Yeah, but that
these guys are the geniuses for a reason. And the fact that we split them up is sad.
It's funny. Kerr wouldn't do it often, but man, whenever they would run the Curry Durant pick and roll, I'd be like, oh shit, trouble's coming. Like, because literally, what do you do on the Curry Durant pick and roll? Like, what is your defensive
with Clay spotting up?
Yeah, what's your defensive game plan there?
Yeah. And then Wiseman would be somewhere else, and who knows how that would have gone. I think Kevin Durant will never have a teammate like he had Steph.
No, Curry's a different, right? It's interesting, right? Curry is like the most ego-less superstar to play with. Yeah. And I think Durant is the most malleable superstar to play with, right? Because I can get my points, and I don't need the ball to dominate 30% of the time. Just throw it to me and I'll just shoot. Like, I don't need to dribble it. Like, we're good. Coach, last night, man, we saw a 73-point win by our Memphis Grizzlies over the Oklahoma City Thunder. But you do not believe that we should be seeing things like this in basketball, and I agree. And what we can get into it.
I don't want to give much time because they don't deserve our time. But I mean, think of all those. I know the Grizzlies fans were happy, whatever, but this is awful. Like, I know Josh Giddey was out, not that he helps the team win yet. Shai Gilgeous was out, that he does help the team win. We can't have that. We can't ever. We know there might be a 20-point blowout. There might be a 30-point blowout on occasion when guys get hurt in the game, whatever, but you can't have this.
Yeah.
It is that there has to be some competitive balance, or we look like professional wrestling. There's got to be some meetings in Oklahoma City today. What the fuck just happened? Like, Someone should be somebody be fired for that. We'll get to others being fired later. That it just you can't have that. It's a sign of something pretty sick.
Yeah, and we'll get to the Thunder later because look, they're doing the same thing that the process Sixers were doing. Yet we vilify the Sixers, but for some reason we're not doing that with the Thunder. But again, more on that later. Coach, so Michael Porter Jr. had back surgery. He is out for the rest of the season. We also know that Jamal Murray is not coming back till, I don't know, sometime in the second half of the year, very late. Dozier is also injured. Austin Rivers is in COVID health and safety protocols. And I wanted to talk about the reality of title windows. And we can't help it, but we all do this to ourselves, right? Every time we see a young team and they're in their mid-20s, their early to mid-20s, and they've got a plethora of guys, you're like, no worries. The next 3-4 years, this team's got the title window wide open. Atlanta Hawks, tons of injuries. What are we saying about them now? The Denver Nuggets, we're like, hey, this is looking great. What are we saying about them now? Go back to yesteryear. The Oklahoma City Thunder drafting 3 MVPs, going to the NBA Finals. Don't worry, they'll be back. Never back again. Orlando Magic, same thing. And the reality is, no such thing as a title window. It's if you're good now, you better do whatever you can. Like Daryl Morey's saying, you got a 5% chance, you best go all in now because you have no idea what's going to happen. Forget next season. What's going to happen a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, right? This league changes so fast. And it's a shame because you talk to yourself and get excited about, this will be great for the next X amount of years. And it's like, nothing's guaranteed in this sport. And particularly this season, Coach, we played parts of 3 seasons in less than 2 calendar years. Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah. I want to address this, but I normally don't have the chat open, but I do right now. And I see Caleb talking about Son of the Earth OKC fans. Caleb, please tell me you're being sarcastic. I'm guessing that you are. Don't get me started on crazy motherfuckers that vote for some of the worst people of all time to run our government. That being said, I'm sure there's nice people there. I've been there many times. I've been there once for a game. Actually, it's very nice. But yeah, I'm not happy about this shit. So Jarod, I've said this to you before. I like the idea of building a team that can win 50 plus games every year. And that you age someone out and someone else comes in and takes their spot and you keep giving luck that chance. And if you can, like you just said, if you got that 5% chance and you can maybe trade one of your young guys for a little bit better player for right now, as long as you can still win 50 next year, if the guy you traded for then leaves in free agency, I'm fine with that. But the idea of going all in, and then if that doesn't work, or if it does work and you suck the next year, I don't like that at all. Your point is exactly right. You never know what's going to happen. That's why player development is so key. The G League is so key. You've got to have depth. What the Warriors are doing, quite frankly, and Phoenix, they got Chris Paul. Yes, they got Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder is not a game changer in most places. He was bad with LeBron. They're built to last, and they've done that the right way. They're a franchise that I think is going to be around for a while. The way James Jones is running them now, despite this terrible owner. I feel for Denver. I think Denver got really lucky. No one thought Jokic was this. If they did, he would have been drafted in the first round. Come on. Like, I don't give him any credit for drafting Jokic. I don't think I think there's credit for helping develop him.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if they did any of it. It might have been his Serbian background. It might have been just him. Might have been personal people. I don't know. But it's fair to give the Nuggets some credit that he was part of that process. Jamal Murray was coming around nicely. Michael Porter Jr., they got lucky. They took a chance. They drafted a guy with serious back problems that everyone would have taken in the top 5 had he not had those back problems. So, yeah, you look great when he was healthy, but now that's exactly what everyone was afraid of. The good comes to the bad. So I don't really know how well put together they are. I know this. They're in some trouble. They're really not guarding anyone right now.
Yeah.
And, I mean, to your point, enjoy it while you got it.
Yeah, and it's tough for them because they're pot committed, right, to Murray, Porter, and by the way, Jokic 2023 is going to be time for him to sign a supermax as a league MVP. Are we sure he's staying in Denver? I don't want Denver fans to get all mad at me but he may look at the landscape and be like, I don't know if Michael Porter Jr. is going to be healthy, right? And the Jamal Murray thing, maybe I go somewhere else. Who knows?
But Jarod, let's talk about that real quick. I think you're exactly right, and I want to take it a step further. You are naive to think that he definitely is staying. Wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
Every fan has to recognize that you don't get to choose where these guys decide to keep playing just because you like him and you rooted for him and they had some success. They're allowed to live the life the way they want to, right? And I support that 1,000%. And I have no idea where Jokic is going to go. But I know this. Plenty of guys have left. Don't be surprised if he does too. This is just the way the world works.
It is. And they're going to have a plan too, because as I said, they are pot committed to Porter Jr. When he gets back, coach, I mean, it's going to sound drastic, but you and I already are from the same page where they play too many games. He's going to have to be on you're playing 60 games max regular season, 2 max efforts a week, and then playoffs will be fine because you don't play back-to-backs.
There really should be no back-to-backs and only 2 games a week, period. So we can lay out a schedule that's easy to do.
Yeah. Now, that's going to mean for Michael Porter Jr., you're probably not going to make all NBA teams, right? But what matters more, making all NBA teams or being best possible shape so you can potentially win a title?
Manu came off the bench, won 5 rings, and is going to be in the Hall of Fame.
That's
he could have started for any team in the league.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So I think that's what they're going to have to do. And I hope they think about that, because it's rough times in Denver right now. The Bulls coach, man, oh man, Billy Donovan is doing his thing. First of all, they can guard Caruso.
Caruso's unbelievable.
Lonzo. First of all, that game between Chicago and Charlotte the other night was fantastic. Watching Lonzo and LaMelo go back.
I didn't see it. I saw the game last night though with the Knicks.
Yeah, and then they have an identity. They kind of know who they are, and Vooch is playing pretty well for them. Look, we're 20 games, right? So they are like a solid playoff team. This is no longer. We'll see what happens halfway through. I think they're a solid playoff team.
I do too. And they lost Pat Williams, who would have made them worse this year, but his elasticity would have made them better longer term. He's out for the year. I think Caruso I tweeted last night, he's got to be a defensive player of the year candidate. He's doing the hardest thing, which is you have to scheme for that dude. You never scheme for perimeter defenders. I tweeted this last night. It's like when you played against LT in football. Here I go in football and Deion Sanders.
Don't throw that out of the field.
It's just stupid not to, right? Or Ronnie Lott back in the day. You didn't run your guy over the middle when Ronnie Lott was there, or you were just going to be down one more receiver. You had to be scheming about those things. Greg says, I hated Deion Sanders. I went to Florida. Fucking hated Deion. He showed up this last game against the Gators back when I used to watch the football in a limousine. Deion knew it was good to be Deion.
Deion's prime time. He was prime time then.
Yeah, I do love Pat Will. I think he's going to be a really good player. But Caruso, you shouldn't be dribbling by him. He's just likely to steal it, and you can't screen him. That's the other thing, because he's going to probably draw an illegal screen because you're so caught up in running a screen. He drew, I think, 3 last night when I was watching. He had 2 steals and he drew an offensive foul on a legal screen in 25 seconds, whatever it was. He is a monster player. I fucking love that guy so much. And I'll tell you something. I wouldn't call myself buddies with Billy Donovan.
But
I know him well. When he was a grad assistant at Kentucky, I was coaching a player that Kentucky was recruiting. And Billy sent me I've lost them, but he sent me videotapes of the drills he was doing with his Kentucky players. These are the guys that they lost in the Duke game. These were those guys when they were younger, Pelfrey and Fieldhouse and those guys. And Billy did a bunch of player development stuff. And I have all the drills and I just don't have the videotape, but he was great. And then he got to Florida after he left Marshall, got head coach of Florida. And on day 1 of his job, he must have called me and asked me to stop by, because I did. I was driving somewhere north of there to go to basketball camp. And he asked me to come in, and it was still Lon Kruger's office. It was Lon's wife picked, my brother Rick was with me, and Lon had a big chair, and Billy looked so little. He looked so small, and the office was somewhat sparse because Lon had taken some stuff out. He had taken the Illinois job, and he's become, and then we had some battles over the years because I didn't think he did a good job featuring big men, and so he was recruiting an All-American. We thought it was All-American that I was coaching down here. And he accused me of telling the kid not to go there, which is true. I did not think it was the best place for him. The kid went to Duke and won a national championship.
So that worked out
in the game. So he did just fine. But over the years, we get along fine. We see each other. But I would tell you, players love him.
Yeah.
He is a very direct, authentic, religious person. And I think there's so much fraud in all of life. I don't think he's a fraud. I can't say for sure that he's not, but I can tell you the players don't think he is. They fucking love him. And they were saying last night in the Knicks game, Mike Breen, who really changes, by the way, when he becomes the Knicks announcer.
Oh yeah, versus the national announcer. Yeah.
He's totally a homer.
Oh yeah, he's here for the Knicks.
He lost his mind when
he's a New York City guy, so of course he loves the Knicks.
I love him. He's great, but I don't typically listen to him. So I was surprised. Normally I don't listen to them because of something different. When Mark Jackson's on the show, I don't want to hear those guys talk, or Jeff anymore. But he was really incensed that Taj Gibson got ejected. I wasn't incensed. I thought he deserved to get ejected, but he would never do that when he was doing a national game. But even he, late in this very exciting game, he said, like, Billy Donovan is, so poised and so composed on the bench. He really is. The guy's been through a lot.
Yeah.
There was a year where ESPN, when I was there, rated all the college programs, and Florida was number one. Like, it wasn't Duke or Kansas or Carolina. They weren't ranking teams. They were ranking like franchises.
Yeah.
And Billy just had it going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he did a great job at OKC.
He did.
And I think he's doing a hell of a job now. And I missed it. I thought they'd be an average team. Zach LaVine, by the way, made a move last night. He did a crossover downhill attack to the rim that was just breathtaking. Like, that fucking guy on offense is unbelievable.
Yeah, they play the Nets Saturday night, second night of a back-to-back for Brooklyn. So I'm going to cover that game on Saturday. So it'll be the first time I've seen the Bulls up close. And I really kind of just want to watch what they're doing.
DeRozan, baby.
Yeah, I thought the same thing you thought. I was like, they'll be okay. What are they going to be, like a play-in team? But nope, they're more than that. And it's exciting to watch, man. Like, they really, and Coach Donovan gets a lot of credit for that. I'm sure you've seen in the news that Enes Kanter is now Enes Kanter Freedom. And I have some thoughts about that. Look, I'm going to say this first about Enes Kanter. He is an enemy of his homeland, right? Which is Turkey.
And they're a terrible government.
Yes. And Turkey is run by an authoritarian dictator, Erdogan, who commits all kinds of atrocious human rights violations, and is an awful human being. So when it comes to Kanter's position on standing up for human rights back in his homeland, Turkey and in China, I am 100% with him on that. And there's a level of courage that he has that is incredible because, his passport was seized, couldn't see his family forever. His father was arrested, like all sorts of things. However, he is now being used as a pawn for bad faith actors on the right. All right. And when you're ending up on Tucker Carlson's show and you're preaching these ideas about, you're so America's the greatest country in the world. I love it here. Everyone should just be happy and not, be thankful for the freedom in America. And it's like, look, dude, we may not have the human rights atrocities in the forefront that is easy to spot like it is in every other place in the world. Although if you live here long enough, not that hard to see. We do terrible, messed up things over here as well on a regular basis. Forget about what we do across the world to our own citizenry every single day. Just turn on the news and you'll see. And so the idea of Kanter, being used as a puppet, and it's perfect because he's attacking LeBron James, and that is a pawn, or that is a tactic of the right? That works. Anyone on the right, that is, perfect. That is right up their alley. And it's just bad news. And what I want for him is to, continue to be educated, but be mindful of like what's being at play here. This is not checkers. This is chess. These people aren't your friends. They don't believe in actual freedom. Like, no one on the right believes in freedom. Okay. They believe in 100% authoritarian government, but that works in their favor. So just, I'm all for freedom, Enes, and doing your thing, but just be mindful who is co-opting your message.
I really can't expound on it any better than what you just did. He's a pawn. Yeah, he's being used by really terrible people. I don't pay much attention to it until just hearing you talk about it more. I don't love going after LeBron publicly. Mm-hmm. If you have a problem with LeBron, do it privately.
Yeah. You can find him. Go find him. You know how to find him. Easy.
Yeah, that's just not how we're going to talk about man things in a minute when we talk about this coach in Arkansas Pine Bluff. And before we forget, we got to make sure we go to the Olivia Newton-John part of the episode. Don't forget that, Todd. But I think you said it perfectly. Someone in his corner has got to be saying, "Hey, dude, Like when you're being mentioned by some of the worst people in the country right now, you're doing it wrong. So step up, and if you have a problem with LeBron, call him on the phone. And he'll talk to her, he won't, but to do it publicly makes you look like a fool.
Exactly. It's not helpful. So be better with that, Each Cantor. Coach, bad news in New Orleans. Zion's return being delayed. I guess there was some soreness in the foot because he'd been cleared for some more work, and we're looking. Not Christmas. He won't be back by Christmas. We're looking probably 2022 before he takes the court again.
Yeah, it really stinks. I think it's been a great year. I love Durant. I love Curry in their charge to continue to show that to the best of all time. We've got some really good young players. We don't hear about a lot about Luka. Thank you, Jason Kidd. But he's still amazing. Zion, I think, would put it over the top. And really, after the 2 seasons we've had in the NBA, it'd be fucking sweet to get Zion back. But yeah, this is the problem. I did read though that it's just some soreness. I'm helping a player right now that's dealing with an ACL tear recovery. And there just been some days where he's been more sore than you expect, except that he was trying new things a couple of days prior. And so your muscles get sore. You just got to be careful, with what he's already had with his foot and everything. So yeah, we could use him, and the Pelicans could really use him.
For sure.
I think they'd make a dramatic transformation with him. I really do.
Him and Valanciunas would be two extremely physical players.
And Ingram as a scorer who's coming around, they'd be. I think they could be a playing team, but they got to get it back pretty damn fast.
And they have to go on a hell of a run when the calendar turns 2022. But yes, I mentioned the two of them being physical. See where I'm going here. Let's get to the Olivia Newton-John portion of the show. For those of you under the age of 40, you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, but it's cool. No worries. Physicality increasing in the NBA, Coach. And I think because of the defenses, we are seeing closer games, the 73-point blowout notwithstanding. What are you seeing by the league's physicality this year in the regular season, particularly?
Yeah, well, what to me was interesting about this article that came out that Judy's showing right now is it's just that the players have admitted it. And so I've had this fear. It's just the reality that if you have two sons and you're letting them kind of push each other a lot, like they're going to fight.
Yeah, of course.
They're going to fight. Well, these are grown-ass men who are playing for money. So if you allow them, and I'm happy they are, but if you allow them to push each other more and hold each other more, fights are coming. And we've seen some bad ones, actually, some dangerous ones, the way what Jokic did to Morris, for example. And so I think that the league needs to step in and really penalize guys. We're going to let you be a little more physical. We think the game is more fluid this way. We're losing fans who just don't want to see you shoot free throws all the time. So be a little more physical, play within the rules as best you can. If you don't, we'll call a foul on you. But you can't let your emotions get the best of you and start punching people. You can't do that. And I think if the league punished some people that did, and more strenuously or more stringently than what they're doing now, it would the players don't want to lose their money. And or lose a game and lose money. So between fines and suspensions, I think we can get it in rope. I think we get in line. And to your point, you talked about the postseason earlier. I don't want them to change it in the playoffs. Just do this. I like that. Let's get a through line of it's the same way all the time. It should. A hold in the NFL, I would guess, is the same. A strike in baseball is the same in season, postseason. I would like a more of a continuity. I think it's just better for the game, but I don't want fights. I have no place for that at all. I just don't think it's good for the game at all.
And I think that the refs have really they've been some self-correcting, because I did say many times earlier in the season on the show that guys are getting hit at the rim going dry, and they're not calling it, but that's starting to change a little bit. And I think so too. To see the foul numbers. I mean, Harden's a poster boy for this, but if you look at his free throws averages this season and last season, they're basically identical. So all that was much ado about nothing, right? Like he's getting back to the line again, and we're seeing it and getting those kinds of calls. So we're going to continue on this theme of, I don't know, physicality and like toughness or whatever. The Arkansas Pine Bluff head coach in a game against number 18, I believe, Iowa State, his team is getting drubbed by 20. he calls timeout and makes his players sprint to the baseline. And, you know, I called coach this morning to talk about it, and I know he has thoughts. Here's the first thing I'll say about it as a coach myself, and Caleb, I know you have thoughts you can chime in too. Anytime my team is losing or something's happening and people aren't performing the way I want them to do, my response is not let me embarrass them or like do something to them publicly. It's first, what did I do? Why aren't they doing what they're supposed to be doing? That's what I think the mark of any good coach is look inward first. Have I done everything I can to make sure things are happening the way they're supposed to happen? And then if it is in fact on the athlete themselves, there are ways you can correct this and get what you need without doing this just ridiculous. Like, I mean, this is a show me thing. This is about, look at me. I'm tough. I'm a dictator. I'm in charge. And I'm like, yeah, but your team's 1-8. And I bet that's probably mainly due to you and not so much about this whole, you know, that they're not giving enough effort. But coach, share your thoughts.
Yeah, I'll start with just a little quick bit of context. I listened to our buddy Tom Havastro the other day, his podcast, and he was doing an advertisement regarding these apps that help you sleep at night, whatever, machines that help you sleep. And he was saying how his kids, his daughter likes, you know, the static noise or whatever. And he may have just been saying it because it's an advertisement. I don't know if he really uses it for his daughter. I can tell you in my house at 3 years of age, like go to the bathroom and brush your teeth. I'll meet you in bed, maybe. Like that's how we did it. When people would sleep over at my house, they would give me a list, or my wife a list of the things their kid needed to do. When we sent our kids, we sent them with a toothbrush. When time to go to bed, go to damn bed. And if the bed's too hard, sleep on the floor. My kids sleep on the floor many, many, many times. Yeah. They can sleep on a bed of nails happily. Yeah. I didn't turn the volume down. I didn't turn this voice down at night. No, this is the world. Get used to it. Like we are not puppy dogs and ice cream parents in my household. I would never, ever do what that coach did, except when I was in my early 20s. And I didn't do it, but maybe I would have thought of it. If you have to resort to embarrassing your players, you're in the wrong business, man. We are in the business to inspire. That isn't inspirational. It's the opposite. It sucks energy from them. To your point, but you said this, it makes it about you. Look what I can do. I can make young 20-year-olds run. like you've missed the point. So if I was the athletic director and or the president, we'd be having a serious meeting. And I don't know that they would be able to keep their job afterwards, or at least they'd be suspended. And they'd have to do some serious apologizing. And if it was my son on that team, he would get a call from me that night saying, hey, if you want to leave, I'm behind you, man. Which I've never imagined saying to my kid, because you got to figure shit out. But you don't got to, if you have a boss like that, go find another job.
Yeah.
Like that is just not, I don't believe in it. And I told you off air, like I've witnessed coaches punching players, really, really coaches and really good teams. I've seen some shit, man. I've been around, and I'm from the South, and I've coached in Georgia. Like I've coached lots of kids from Mississippi and Alabama. I've seen some shit. I really have. I've also seen incredible coaching. Kerry Kittles played for St. Augustine Nice, I believe it was, I may have just been St. Augustine in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And all black team, all black coaching staff, all dressed like it was the NBA Finals of 2019 before we let them just wear sweats. Like they took their shit seriously. And I'll never forget this. And they were so disciplined, but in the best way. And at the end of the game, up 40, whatever they were, we were in the same tournament as them. One of their backup 6'8", freshmen took a 28-foot shot as the clock wound to 0 in this blowout game. And the head coach walked over and shook the other coach's hand and then went right to that young man and then very professionally explained to him, we don't ever take a bad shot, ever. Like, I don't care if we're up 40 or down 40 at the end of the game. We're going to do it our way, the right way. I guarantee you that player never took a bad shot again. That's coaching. Yeah. That's leadership. That's inspirational. My players saw that. And they're like, hey, they guys like Coach Thorpe. That's exactly what I would say. That is what this guy did. I'm sorry. I hope Pine Bluff loses every game by 40 and they get a new coach.
Listen, couldn't have said it better myself. Coach Kevin Love was honored recently. I know you wanted to talk briefly about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're one of my favorite people for a lot of reasons, but one of them is you just totally get that these guys are human beings. You deal with that from your journalistic standpoint. it's not just about the story. I coach players that play in the NBA. I know they have problems that the average person has that no one ever reads about, but they've got them too. And I just love that Kevin Love's been so open. Now, listen, Kevin Love has a pretty good life.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a pretty good life. He didn't have to come out and admit the things he's admitted. And amazingly enough, he's stuck on a good team. I'm so happy for him. Cleveland is one of the best defensive teams in the league. It's great. We need, those are heroes. The guys like DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Love, we need them to champion the fact that our mental, this is a tough time right now. It's a tough time.
It is.
And for them too, because as you said, three seasons in 2 years and on and on and on. Money and fame don't mean you're impervious to angst, right? Anxiety, or worse. And I just love that he's open about it and needs to be embraced. And they're doing it. And I like that. It's going to make it safer for other players to do it, which will help our league just be better, because players will feel more seen and they'll feel like they're understood better. And
this is perfect coming off the heels of that Arkansas Pine Bluff coach, right? It's the idea that, like, we've evolved as human beings, as a species. Yeah. Like, why are we still acting like we're cavemen in prehistoric times? Like, come on, like, you can introduce humanity into things, and guess what? Teams can still be tough, disciplined. You can still be, all those things can still be true at the same time. It is possible, folks. Not hard at all. Yeah. Let's look at who is in the top 10 on offense and defense and who can't defend on Kurt Goldsberry's latest efficiency tracker, Judy, if you want to pull up that.
Yeah, this is the top 10 offense and defense in the last 10 games. So you, for example, earlier mentioned Atlanta. So there's only a couple of teams top 10 in offense and defense over this 10 game. Atlanta's number 1 in offense, number 10 in defense. They're coming. Brooklyn, 3 on offense. So let me just give you a little Brooklyn thing right now. Let's hear it. This team plays defense, coach. Like, this is their identity right now. They're like, look, like, we were built to be a supremely supernova offense like we were last year. That ain't it, because of James Harden's inconsistencies. And it's just Kevin Durant, and that ain't enough to be an historic all-time offense. But we're going to guard, and they're playing a level of defense that was kind of like what they were doing in the postseason last year. And if they can do that, they'll be fine. They'll be okay. They'll be fine. We don't know if they'll be elite, because they'll be fine. About Harden and Kyrie. Right. Yeah. They got Durant. They'll be fine. Yeah. They'll be fine. No Durant and no Harden, no Kyrie. Then it's, then they're just they're a G League team. They're just a good defense, no offensive team. I think that, 10 games is always, it's good to track the line of how teams are getting better. Strength of schedule matters. But you want to be, this game's about peaking at the right time, like training for the Olympics. And you just want to start off too far in a hole. Yep. It's hard. It's hard for a lot of reasons to then really recover. So I just wanted to point out Brooklyn and Atlanta. Yeah. And then also the Wolves are top 12 on offense and 5 on defense. Yeah. How can you not be with Karl-Anthony Towns? And Russell's playing well. Right. You got things that should be good enough. Anthony Edwards, and you got stuff, right? Their issue is that they make some of the dumbest mistakes. I'm like, what are you guys even doing right now? But that's the mark of a team that's not really got it all together. Growing stages, yeah. Let's talk about our boy Jaren Jackson Jr. Without Ja Morant, he's got to carry the scoring load right now, which he's doing, which we know he can do. But listen, I texted him this. I'm like, bro, you got to rebound better. Like, obviously, he doesn't want to hear that from me, but because I'm sure he's getting it from his coaches. But 3 rebounds, that's not cutting it, my guy. I need you around 8 to 9 rebounds a game, easy. He's 6'11", agile, fluid as an athlete. It's a concern I have. It's a concern I have less about them winning games, because you can make up for that with other guys who are rebounding well. It's a concern I have because I thought he'd be the best player in the draft. And I'm going to look like an idiot with Luka Doncic there if he won't fucking rebound. God damn it, it's all about me. So seriously, the rebounding is a talent. Yes. There's a tracking mechanism in our brains There is hand-eye coordination. There's the fluidity, like I mentioned. There's a physicality element. You can't be afraid to mix it up. But the tracking thing and there's a commitment to the craft. Like Dennis Rodman talked about studying rebounds. There is an art. It's not just a science, but it is a science too. So there's an art aspect of it, a feel thing that he clearly doesn't have. The science part, he could really do a better job of. Is when this guy shoots from these parts of the court, where does it often go? And I've got to get there. I've got to get there. Scotty Barnes is rebounding more than him.
Yeah.
He's a fucking rookie.
He's got to rebound
a lot. Guarding guards.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
He's got to rebound better and not just, possession, let's just move. No, get in there and to your point, get the science and the activity part of it. He's talented, so I know he can do it. Before we get to our top fives so far, let's show this picture of men in the NBA with ginormous hands.
Yeah, I saw this morning. It's a tweet of so there's Kawhi holding two what looks like a soda bottle and then a water bottle, pretty easily actually. And then Scotty Barnes has two like Starbucks cups. That's really hard to do. I thought the water bottles thing isn't so hard to me because you can't squeeze. Those have lids on them.
Yeah, if you squeeze them,
squeeze those coffee bottles too much. Now he is spreading his fingers out more. I've got big hands. I don't have hands like those guys, and I know because when I shake their hand, they engulf my hand. But I can normally hold a lot with one hand. But I thought that was pretty damn impressive. These guys have big fuck. Have you ever been to? I think they got rid of it. The NBA restaurant in Universal's in Orlando here used to have basketballs with like Kevin Garnett's hand.
And you put your hand. Yeah,
I think it's fake because Kobe's hand is a joke. Like 3 times the size of mine. I don't think it's real, but. They guys used to have really big hands for sure.
These guys got mitts.
Maybe Jaren Jackson doesn't. Maybe that's why he doesn't rebound as much. I've never shaking his hand.
They have mitts. These guys have mitts. They're not hands. They're like legitimate mitts. All right, Coach. Let's go our top 5. Yep. We'll go back and forth. Who's number 5 for you this week?
I've got your Miami Heat.
My Miami Heat.
I have Miami Heat at 5. There's a few teams in the running. The Bulls are in the running. But Miami just beat them the other day. So I gave Miami the edge. That's all.
I went the other way just because I'm like, I think with the injuries, I'm like, I think the Bulls will be peaking right now. So I went Chicago at 5. Who's your 4?
This is to piss you off. I got Brooklyn at 4.
I'm not going to piss me off. I have Brooklyn at 4 too.
All right, there we go. I mean, I think there's three elite teams right now. Brooklyn isn't quite there. We got to see how Harden does. I think, are you concerned about that a little bit?
He's getting better, and he really looked good in that Knicks game Tuesday night. Like spry, I'm like, okay, this is the James Harden need to be. Like, he got a tip dunk. I was like, oh my god, you got off the ground and exploded. Like, I was like, all right,
let's see if he can keep doing it.
Exactly. All right, who's your 3?
I'm not enthusiastic about putting the Jazz at 3 because I think they should be number 1, but they don't deserve it. So I have them number 3. They still have a 14-7 record. They're waxing teams. They're supposed to wax normally, not always. And they're far from their potential, which is a good sign. They're not peaking for sure.
Yeah, I got the Jazz at 3 as well.
Yeah. And then, okay, so the question is, I think we're probably the same way. I picked Golden State at 2.
Yes,
because they just got beat by Phoenix, just like I picked Miami over Chicago. They just beat them a couple of days ago. I think it's a coin flip tonight without Devin Booker. If Phoenix wins without Devin Booker, it says a lot. Because Golden State and Phoenix played last night.
Yeah. Second have them back to back. So
Golden State has an edge.
Yeah, I again, if I would be shocked if they don't win by double digits tonight, just because again, second have a back to back, like no Booker. Now you're like, okay. And first of all, it's also hard to win 20 games in a row. Like, let's just
what are they at?
17? 18. So tonight would be 19. Yeah. So it's hard. Yeah. We make a big deal about teams when they do this because it's really fucking hard to win that many games in a row. Though.
I hope they do win. I think streaks are amazing.
Oh, they're great. It's just hard to do.
Hard.
Yeah, really
they're
hard.
So hard to do. And you do it without Booker. So you'll have won 2.5 games because he got hurt second quarter of the Warriors game without their best player. And he is their best player.
Yeah.
He is a quiet MVP candidate. He is an MVP, but he deserves mention because he's the best player on the best team right now. And I have Phoenix yet. We both have it number 1.
Correct. Well, folks, that was another rousing episode of Bring It In Fridays with me, Jarod, Hector, and Coach David Thorpe. Everyone have an awesome weekend. Enjoy the basketball and stay safe.
Be safe, everyone. Thanks.